got the job about 3 days before practice was going to start. And I came over to Durand, and all the football players were in the gym. Couldn't be out on the field, we're not supposed to be with them. So we hid in the gym. And this little guy, was like, he's a quarterback. Really? Tom Van Riker was the center, and he could hardly see over the top of the center. But he did a great job, and he learned quickly, and he was very efficient with what he did. And we had a good season. The very first year, we tied for the conference championship. And then the next year, as a senior, we were fortunate enough to go undefeated. And again, Chris was the catalyst to that team as well. There's quite a few other guys that were on that team. And then in baseball, basically the same. But Chris was an outstanding athlete for us. He went on to Central Michigan and did well there. Being a former Chippewa myself, it was great to see him do that. And I would say that intelligence-wise and fundamentally, he's probably one of the best athletes I've ever coached. And congratulations, Chris and Lee. You got some questions here. Yeah, come on, Chris.
So, Chris, congrats, man. I've been waiting for this one. Yeah, so this is, to me, this is the funnest part of being on the Hall of Fame committees this evening here tonight. So, I told a couple of friends, I said, Chris Doyle's inducted this year. And I'm like, I thought, it's kind of like Neil Armstrong being inducted into the astronaut Hall of Fame. So, I also want to give you an opportunity to maybe introduce who's you're sharing this moment with tonight.
Yeah. My wife Susan.
Videographer.
My wife Susan right here, and Dennis Michelson, and Debbie O'Hare, Denny back there, and his wife. And my sister was here, my sister-in-law was both here for my dad, and my brother-in-law were here as well for the induction of my dad. So
Awesome. Yeah. So, Hall of Fame committee, at least when it comes to my vote, one thing that stands out is championships, performance, and big moments. I think about Chris Doyle and all the big games. I think he played some of the biggest games in all three sports in grand history. Can you comment a little bit on that? Some of the big games that you remember?
Oh yeah, the last football game was Linden, and we were down, or I don't know, we were driving, it was 4th and 10, and you talked on the line about what play you're going to run. Well, twins right, 2-minute throwback hook to my best friend Dennis, right down the middle, 4th and 10. Went for a first down, then your brother ended up finishing it off with a touchdown. So, I mean, we had tremendous athletes. I mean, I could go right down the row. All of them, Bob Mel, Tom Van Riker, Gus Barrow, Bob Higgins, and your brother, and Dan and Denny and Dennis, Gus Barrow, Sargis, Greg Sargis. I mean, it was guy after guy after guy. So when you're a quarterback and you're throwing to these guys and you don't ever get hit, I got hit one time, seriously, in my senior year. And I just made a bad choice against the linebacker. But just having those people it's made it very easy. Plus, I've never had better coaches. I mean, I've played at the college level and played with a lot of good athletes. And these guys, Coach Hill, Coach Laker, we like Coach Fuller. I mean, it's phenomenal. You don't have anything better. So all I have to do is I wear my butt off though. And Coach Geisty, and I got this. I can't just go off I got beat it. So, and my dad and Dennis's dad, I mean, we played sports from age 5 on, Dennis and I, nonstop. That's all we did every single day. And it was funny because Dan Lundy was here tonight, bless his heart, and he was amazing. But when we were growing up, it was Dennis Michelson, Chris Doyle, Denny O'Hara, gonna meet Dan Lundy when we were growing up, and it was amazing the people that we just were around. I mean, it's incredible. I'm just so blessed. But
So for the young kids here tonight, Chris was in the class of 78, which is like magical year. They were 9-0 in football, 20-0 in basketball, rated #1 in the state in baseball, and all the way to the state semifinals. So it's just, yeah, I mean,
Remember, every home game was a shutout.
right, yeah, they were unscored.
Nobody scored on the second half.
because Roger was a linebacker.
Yeah, so at risk of, maybe embarrassing somebody here, can you tell me about your favorite sport? I mean, the 3 sport athletes, you just never know. Are you brave enough to answer that one?
Well, it was definitely baseball, but football was a lot of fun, but I never wanted to get hit. I wanted to hit people, but get me away from a linebacker or a defensive end. Coach ran the wishbone my sophomore year. Well, I've never been hit so hard in my life. We got back up though. But Bob Morrow, who was down, was one of our friends. Dennis and I played 1-on-2 against him all the time. In my neighborhood. Yeah, but he was a fullback, and I would say, Bob, I do have to find you take the football out of your stomach. You kept taking it. And I'm like, quit taking the football. So, that's one of those things. Coach Lanfier is just incredible, and the FCA we were involved in, it's just amazing. Donkey basketball. Right.
What about basketball for a moment? The 2 games I remember, beat back twice. Yeah, that home game, to me, was one of the biggest moments in Durand sports history.
Yeah, I mean, it was standing room only. Dan and I were talking about this tonight. Standing room only. We just couldn't believe it. Colin Smith is just a phenomenal coach. I know Dennis should have played basketball, so Dennis should have played. But the athletes we had, I mean, it wasn't hard to be a part of that. I mean, you guys that are here to be honored know what I'm talking about. But the Fenton game, the second one, I was drenched in my mind when we went up 46-44, and we somehow stole the ball or got the ball, and I'm underneath the basket, and I'm just standing there going, I just have to get the ball out of my hand to Dan or somebody just to win the game. And it was a bounce pass. I remember that clear as day. It's a bounce pass to Dan, just like the 2-minute throwback. I can see it right now to Dennis. And the touchdowns I threw to Denny O'Hara over there. I mean, it was so, you see that in your head. You can't forget it. And the crowd was just crazy. You couldn't even hear it.
That was game 20.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. And we got beat by Old else.
Yeah, in the first.
Right. So I'm going to sit down, Chris. Feel free to keep the light and share your thoughts and feedback. Yeah.
Every time they got the ball back, or the ball back, or they got the ball back,
Yeah, so I gotta say a few things if you don't mind. First of all, I have to write it down because as a former principal, I mean, if you don't write it down, you're gonna miss things. Life's getting a little bit old, so I will forget people. But always remember Dennis and what he's done for me, and thank you for the nomination. You know I didn't care. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, I'm glad you guys are doing this, but I'm just not that way. I'm a humble guy and don't worry about accolades. I think it comes from people in a normal way. But congratulations to the soccer team, Coach Lincoln, my dad, My dad was phenomenal. I mean, he did everything without any regard. I mean, he just did amazing stuff. Roger, Russell, Nick, congratulations. My coaches, my dad was my coach, Dennis's dad and I coached. My mom was even a coach, even though she just knitted all the time during the days. My mom would tell me how we did when I got home, like sometimes it wasn't good. Anyway, but Coach Lamphere, Smith, Fuller, Geisky, Herman. Coach Herman was one of my baseball coaches, and Coach Hill, sitting over there, did not know he was coming tonight. Just amazing people that I've been involved with. But my brothers, Steve and Tim, were older. Tom, all three have passed, and it's just tough to see, you know, what I've work towards to not be a part of their lives anymore. I only have my sister Kathy left, but we're hanging in there. But those guys constantly worked with me when I was younger. But Dan Lundy, Denny O'Hare, like I said, Roger, Joe Frankovich, Tom Van Riper, Bob Milhot, Bob. I mean, people around me that I have gone around and been around in my life, I can continue to have that happen, just like you said. When you surround your people with great people, you don't have to do a whole lot. And I want to thank you for this. But the biggest athlete that I got was 34 years ago on a blind date. I met the love of my life. And one of the best athletes I know is my wife, Susan. I mean, she's incredible, been the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. And I am truly honored to be her husband and share our life together every day. You're an inspiration, you're unconditionally loved for me and for what I do. I can't imagine life without you. We have 15 grandkids, 4 kids, and you sure make our life fulfilling on a daily basis. You're a world-class choreographer and line dancing. That's all I do now. I never thought I would ever line dance in my life. I was a guy that sat down and watched everybody. But thank you for this honor. Dennis for nominating me, the committee for accepting me. I'm extremely humbled and proud to be a part of this inducted group. I'm grateful to be a Durand Railroader. Thank you.
Good luck. I'm going off script.
Next on the order of events